The rain at Silverstone continues to fall down in the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series for Series 13. It's round 4 here of the Challenge class, the final of 4 races here on RaceSpotTV on Thursday and Wednesday evenings. This time the Challenge class, the 4th tier of racing here in the Porsche Club of America, has seen some great racing so far. Joshua Jepson taking the opening round of the season at Daytona, followed by Dave Douglas 2 weeks later. And 2 weeks ago, Alan Hales taking his first win of the season at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Who's going to take victory this time round, and can we keep that run of different race winners going? We'll find out over the course of the next hour and a half with myself, Ian O'Leary, and Brad Dalton alongside me, with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras once again. It is raining in England, Brad. What's new? Very much looking forward to this, though. I think it's a great circuit for racing, and that rain is just going to add that little bit more slippery spice, maybe, to this race.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I mean, it's classic Silverstone. It's raining. If it's going to rain, in Bahrain for F1 testing, we might as well have rain where we expect it. This iconic 3.66 mile circuit, 18 turns. Ewan, I don't know corner numbers around Silverstone. I'm an American, and I've never known corner numbers at Silverstone. I only know corner names, the iconic track, the iconic British track. I mean, if you try to tell me where turn 5 is, I couldn't tell you. If you tell me where Arena, Brooklands, Luffield, Woodcote is, I know that all day.
Yeah, it's weird, but that's your chance to learn, I suppose. with the track up there. But no, yeah, there are some iconic corner names around here, and some iconic corners as well, as we'll get into, I am sure. Before we go any further, of course, and have a look at what we've got coming up here tonight, it's time to remind you for the first time this evening, of course, that we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to put your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. This year, of course, is also the 70th anniversary of the Porsche Club of America. Started in 1955. Here in 2025, we're pleased to be marking it with Series 13 of the PCA Sim Racing Series, here with the top 4 classes all live here on RaceSpotTV over the course of the season. This is how the season's gone so far in the Challenge class. This is 3 rounds with a drop involved, and that's why we've got Joshua Jepson and Alan Hale separated by just 40 points at the moment. Dave Douglas slipped a little bit 2 weeks ago after winning the Algarve. Antonio De Silva and Britt Danley round out the top 5. Danley was actually fastest in practice earlier on, by the way, and so will be one to watch today. Ed Trippett and Vernon Messer were tied for 6th, or are tied for 6th for the moment, ahead of Robert Gallis, with Johan Nye and Patricio Torres-Gianni, who's been very entertaining, but unfortunately maybe a little bit lower than where he would expect to be with his results. They're tied for 9th. In the clean drivers standings, Alan Hales is just on the 1 incident, with Jepson and Gallis on 2. Then you get to those who have made car contact so far. Cole Bess is on 5 incidents, ahead of Ed Trippett, who's 5th in the standings. Johan Nye and Antonio De Silva have made 8 and 9 respectively. Vernon Messer, Andrew Hillman and Lisa Eskridge are all on 10 incident points. Those clean driver standings, of course, but based on all of the rounds so far, to have just 1 after this amount of rounds is quite spectacular. And next week, when we go racing again for round 5 in all of our championships, it will be at Road America, of course, and we'll be live with the Pro Series on Wednesday. We'll have the updated clean driver standings from all the classes when everyone's done the same amount of races after round 4 here tonight. Joshua Jepson has set the early mark here in qualifying, a session actually that's going to be a bit time pressure for everybody, because this lap is so long and the 10 minutes are going to elapse very quickly. You've got to get out there very quickly indeed. And this is going to be not so much about who's practiced the most, I don't think, Brad, in qualifying. It's actually going to be about who adjusts to conditions quickest, I think, because every lap is different, if you like, in terms of grip. When it's raining like this, it's very, very difficult to read. You've just got to feel it yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how drivers adjust here to Silverstone rain as we watch Marcos Souza here. Best lap at 2:19.6. You can see the concentration there on the face looking, I mean, here's the thing. The rain in iRacing, it's been around a little bit, right, Ewan? But it's still fairly new for some drivers. And it's something that isn't as simple to practice as you might think, because iRacing has done so well with making this rain very realistic and random. you can't exactly say, okay, it's 50% rain and go, or 50% damp track and go. Every racing line, every corner, everything can change lap to lap. So this is as much about how reactive you are to it as you are proactive.
It also is something that people don't often practice for. Even that is true what you say there. But even if it wasn't true and the conditions would be exactly the same, people don't practice it anyway. To be honest, based on my experience anyway, when I was driving in sim racing, people just don't do it. I don't really understand why. I think they just hedge their bets on it not being wet, and that's not a very good idea anywhere, especially not here. But generally, people don't practice wet weather driving as much as they should do, and so it really is about feeling the conditions around as you go along. A very good afternoon or good evening, by the way, to everyone who is tuned in tonight. Someone called Rastamoto says, "Good luck, I'll be there next time." Don't know who that is, but shout out to you, and we'll give you a real name. And then we'll know who's missing. And someone else saying that I'm sending Lisa special Eskridge power. I'm presuming that's Ken Eskridge, who is, of course, a Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series driver as well. But I'm just guessing Lisa Eskridge out there at the moment in 19th place, and there she is in number 75, just having set the second lap time of her session, 4.7 seconds off of the pole at the moment. And you are going to see some big gaps, not least because this is a long circuit with a 2-minute 15 lap time, but also the difficult conditions. There is Marcus Souza, much improved, and there's exactly what I'm talking about with the conditions. You can make big strides forward in just one lap here, and there's an example just now, a second and a half away for Souza.
Yeah, you could do big strides forward as we watch Dave Douglas here in the number 42 trying to send his Porsche into Maggots and Beckett's side by side through Cop's Corner. We don't do, and maybe we won't see, but that's a big snap. Look at the control, though. Very good control there of that Porsche Cup car to get it around, get it going. Now we continue through. Ewan, you mentioned drivers don't practice in the rain, and I'm going to ask you a very serious question on that. Why would you want to? You're significantly slower. It's significantly trickier. Everyone knows that the most fun in practice is to get the perfect track conditions, slap on your qualifying setup, and send it as fast as possible. That is the best way to practice, right?
This is true. This is true. You're probably onto something there, to be honest, in terms of why people don't practice. You're probably onto something there. But logically, when you look at it from the outside, it just makes no sense that people don't drive in the rain more, because it is going to come up at some point now that iRacing has got it, especially in a series like this that does have rain available in this car. It's just, the mind boggles, really. But you're probably right with the sort of what you feel like you want to practice rather than what you should be practicing before a day. There goes Dave Douglas over the line. This is a struggle so far for him. He's only 11th. For a driver who's won a race this season and is a championship contender, that'll be a bit of a disappointment to him. By the way, Rastamoto, by the way, who's in YouTube chat, who says he'll be here next time, is Antonio Di Vincenzo. Good evening to him, and hopefully we do see you indeed in 2 weeks' time as well. Coming towards the end of the lap, there's Patricio Torrigiani, who I'm sure is going to be very entertaining indeed tonight. He always is. He goes fourth, but with a pretty late lap time, it's Stephen Danley, or Britt Danley, who's been taking the pole position just by 1/10 of a second over Joshua Jefferson. That looks like it's an impressive lap time that's gotten him the pole position here for this race. We'll have a look at the grid here in a few moments' time. We've got a little while this session just comes to a close and the warm-up session gets underway here for the next 5 minutes. So we will have a look at the starting grid while we're in this warm-up session, and indeed we'll have a look at the lap itself later as well. Britt Dunley takes pole with a 15.6 here in the fourth round at Silverstone, ahead of Joshua Jefferson, the championship leader. It is George Poulos and Patricio Torrigiani sharing row 2, with Alan Hales, the winner from 2 weeks ago, in 5th, ahead of Kevin Hamann, who is in 6th. Already 8 tenths off of pole for Britt Danley. Brad Dunn is in 7th place ahead of Robert Gales, who rounds out row 4. Ed Tribbett, the first driver, over a second off of pole, with Johan Nye rounding out the top 10. Andrew Hillman 11th, then of Bernard Messer, who is 12th. And this made some late lap times have demoted some others. Marcus Souza is 13th ahead of Jeffrey Buck, with Dave Douglas 15th ahead of Rob Gerwin. John Kaplan and Aubrey Ayer round out the 9th row ahead of Jim Garamani, Lisa Eskridge and Jack Stevenson, all of whom got laps in during that session. But as you can see, the time gaps very, very large indeed. And the gaps to other sessions in these last 2 weeks, Brad, pretty large as well in similar conditions.
Indeed. I took a little trip back to pro, and it was a 212 in pro's qualifying session last week. So there is a gap there. But here's the thing, Ewan, we always call rain the great equalizer, right? So I don't know that I would be putting a lot of weight on these qualifying times. It's realistically, to me, you can qualify where you're going to qualify here, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about where you finish, especially when you've got rain, you've got Silverstone, which can be a tricky, difficult track. I don't think you necessarily need to worry about, having the best qualifying lap. As we saw there, the gaps to the back of the field were 5-6 seconds. All those drivers have to do, though, is survive. If the driver's up in the front in the lead, if they have a moment here, if Britt Danley, as we hit this pole lap, has a moment and loses it right there on the curb to the Hamilton straight, I mean, that's an easy free position gained, and just be patient.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about staying on the circuit is going to get you a lot, actually, in this race. So we'll remind you to think about that when we're looking at guys further down the field. But Britt Danley has taken the pole position here and will be starting with the clean road just up in front. 15.6 for him. Here's in towards the loop, looking for a good exit here. Try and straighten out as much as possible, as quickly as possible, and then in towards entry, the left-hander for the run down the Wellington straight. You didn't need your Wellingtons by the looks of this weather here tonight, with the rain falling. In towards Brooklands they go. Well, he goes. Looking for that late apex, just about grabbing it right at the very end there. Just had to slow down a little bit more than you'd hope for, and you can enter quite high, ready for Luffield, and a late apex here as well. You'll be wanting. There you go, late apex, nice and straight, and you can power off of this corner as well in towards Copse Corner, one of the most iconic corners on this circuit.
Yeah, Copse Corner, of course, leads into the quintessential Maggots and Beckett's. Copse Corner, mind the inside, mind the outside, look for the curb. Britt Danley doing a very good job running that wide, using a lot of track there, taking advantage of the track surface, watching the slippery conditions. Now it's in the Maggots, and this is, of course, going to be one of the most infamous back and forth twisty bit chicanes in existence in motorsports. Bring it through Beckett's here into Chapel. Watch the curb, run it a little wide here, and then feel free to dip a wheel towards the curb most of the time. Maybe don't do that in the rain, but you could, but probably don't. You can see from me with this onboard with Britt Danley, the car control is really what gets my attention here. It's very much a comfort level that shows a little bit of curb usage there through Stowe out of the Hanger Straight. Now we run down through Vale towards Club, and again, it'll be back out on the Hamilton Straight. The whole thing is just, it feels slow compared to a Silverstone lap, but it's very controlled here in this rain. Britt Danley showing a lot of car control here. I have a feeling Britt Danley practiced for this wet race in Silverstone.
I suspect so. And those that do well here tonight will have for sure been doing so. We'll ask the podium drivers a little bit later about their practice before this race, as we have a look at the conditions. It is pretty cold on the circuit, just 60 degrees Fahrenheit for those over in the using the right units. That's about 15 degrees Celsius, 15 and a half. So very, very, very cold conditions on the circuit, and you do get that in the rain. Of course, it gets a little bit colder than it would ever do in the dry conditions. Actually, not that really matters. It's going to be about tyre warm up here more than anything else, and normally what you see is maybe a tyre change during the pit stop. That's probably going to go away as well. It's going to be a slightly shorter fuel fill. So many things change because of the wet weather, but that's the end of warm up. The gridding process will now begin, and everyone will be thinking about getting through lap one and thinking about your words beforehand, Brad, about staying safe early on here.
Yeah, remember, this is a long race. You don't win it into lap one, but you can definitely ruin your race and everyone else's race into lap one in the rain. So I'm curious to see what drivers heed that advice, heed that warning, what drivers don't. There's really only one way to find out, and that's to get this through as we kick off this pace lap here. Ewan, my final prediction is just an absolute barnstormer of a race. I think this is going to be a good one here.
Certainly is. It's always exciting in the rain here at Silverstone. It's always exciting at Silverstone, full stop, I think. But the rain just adds that extra bit of sprinkle as well for round number 4 of the Porsche Club America Challenge class. It's the final time of asking here at Silverstone. 3 races prior to this one. They've got all the knowledge you can possibly have. 3 hours of video from other classes heading into this race. And hopefully they can use that to put on a good show for us here tonight. Out of the final corner comes Danley, Britt Danley, who will now be in control of the field. Now the pace car's pulled in, and he's going to use that front straight a little bit more. Just wait a little bit of time before getting us underway. The green flag waves here in the challenge class of the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series in towards turn number 1. Danley takes the initiative and takes the lead. Jefferson versus Poulos in towards turn number 1 goes on, but it's Jefferson who prevails ahead of Poulos. Then it's Torresiani who will be 4th, but he's looking up the inside. Have a look at him steaming down the inside in towards turn number 3. He's gone too deep. Poulos will switch back to the other side. He'll be on the outside still for the loop though, as Torresiani just sticks his nose in there. He is up to 3rd place. Early on the inside line, and here comes Jefferson as well. He's on the inside of Danley, going in towards Aintree, side by side for the lead, going down the Wellington Straight as Torresiani loses it, right in front of the field there. He spins off to the side of the circuit, and once again, like week after week beforehand, he's got work to do early on in this race, and he's going to have to come right back through the field. Meanwhile, it's side by side for the lead between Joshua Jefferson and Britt Danley. There's contact. The championship leader spins, and it's a half spin recovered quickly through Luffield. Joshua Jefferson drops to 4th place on lap 1.
Joshua Jefferson was fighting so hard for that lead as we head out towards Woodcote and now down towards Copse Corner for the first time. One thing that caught my eye very quickly was Andrew Hillman was peeking out straight off of the race start, was very quickly to get out of line, try to look for a move. We go picture in picture here. Top, we are following Joshua Jefferson. Down on the bottom, we've got action further back through the field here as we go. We're looking through the spray is really what is catching me off guard right now. There's a lot of spray. I'm wondering how the drivers are doing with visibility. We're single file, and well, as we head through Maggots Beckett's towards Chapel for the first time here, Ewan, I mean, they're really pushing these cars early.
Yeah, Poulos very nearly went off there, and there'll be a battle for second down the other end of the straight here. Look at this. Kevin Hamann is on the inside line in the 14 car, the white Porsche you can see down the bottom of your screen, passing George Poulos for second place. Ed Tribbitt's going backwards as well here. He's got Brad Dunn right behind, and Alan Hales as well as they came out of Chapel. Poulos gets back through on the inside line. He retains second place, but this is all going to help Britt Danley if it continues. Again, Hamann has a little bit of a look, and it's also holding back Joshua Jefferson. A costly mistake that he's put him 2.5 seconds off of the leader, Britt Danley. If they come to the end of lap number 1, we have had a good start to this one, not without incident, as you can see here. Torresiani slightly up on that curb. You were talking about the wet curbs in qualifying. There's one of them, and Torresiani's down to the back of the field.
When we first saw that, I was wondering if there was a little bit of contact there, Ewan, but no, that was just a coming off of the corner exit, a little bit too much curb, a little bit too much throttle, a little bit too much for those rear tires to handle out of this Porsche. Thankfully was able to kind of gather it up, no contact, no foul, but it does put Torresiani all the way back. And now 20th place has already passed Jack Stephenson to get up into 20th, and is still moving forward, now up into 19th yet again. Has a long way to climb up through the field, which is unfortunate to see, but thankfully 56 minutes to get it done and plenty of time to really see that come together.
Well, it's Dave Douglas having a look down the inside of Jeffrey Block for 12th place. That's not going to happen. Douglas really does need to move through the field, to be honest. Hasn't finished outside of the top 11 places so far this season. At the moment is down the field in 14th, actually, excuse me. He's trying to get past Vernon Messer there, and Messer goes wide, so that will be an easy place gain there. I think this is a few moments ago for Kevin Hamann through Copse Corner, and Josh Jepson right in behind trying to work his way through. Hamann on this lap actually hasn't had the speed of George Poulos. It's not been quite as quick for him this time round, and Poulos not making a mistake has helped his cause as well. So Hamann loses a bit of time. He's got a lot of pressure. Brun Jefferson just in behind. And then just behind them is Ed Tribbitt, who's at the head of the next train, if you like, in the background. That's Brad Dunn next in line, followed by Alan Hales and Andrew Hillman, Robert Gallis, And Johan Knight rounding out the top 10 here at the moment, at the conclusion of lap number 2. Very slow laps around here, very long laps around this circuit, and it takes as a result a very long time to knock them off. This is Hammam through the final couple of corners, under no real pressure from Jefferson. So we settle in here after 2 laps, settling in a little bit more, and that means that it is generally going to be a bit harder to overtake and harder for people like Jefferson to get back through the field to where they were before.
Yeah, it's going to be truly a difference in pace. I think some drivers are going to be a little conservative here early on. They're going to be just giving the track time to sort of set up. They're going to be looking to see where other drivers are, and they want to, keep it conserved to get all the way to the end. There's no sense in running through and pushing early and, having a single car spin that drops you to the back and puts you out of contention. If you're a car up front, it's worth it to kind of dial out that 1/10, 2/10 of a second to make sure that you keep things together. As we saw Joshua Jepson there in the background have a little bit of a moment there again out of the exit of Aintree onto the Wellington straight. That's going to be a problem spot, just like Maggots and Beckett's is going to be a problem. And that Chapel curve onto the Hanger straight. Try saying that 10 times fast. If you aren't careful, you don't get the right run out of Beckett's and Chapel onto the Hanger straight, you're going to have a problem. Joshua Jefferson here looking for a move. We hop on board, trying to pass Kevin Hammam and look for a move. We're heading down towards Copse Corner now. Is there a pass towards Copse Corner? Well, definitely looks a lot braver on the brakes, but the car looks a little bit more unstable. But this is a fixed setup series, so everyone's running the same setup. The big difference is really it's the person behind the wheel, and it's the driver that really makes or breaks the car here in this challenged class.
Yeah, it's huge. That is the huge part. Oh, have a look at that!
Oh.
Down the inside, my word, that was from a long way back at a very difficult corner. It was bold from Jefferson, but very nearly causing an accident. That was unbelievable. But Kevin Hammam holds on, and he'll be breathing a sigh of relief as well after seeing what he just saw in his rearview mirror.
If he saw that in the rearview mirror, I believe that he is already a click to ship on Amazon for a fresh pair of race suit, is what I'll say on that one. That's the dangerous thing with the wet, is if you try to go for those moves that you can make stick in the dry and it doesn't stick, you risk worse things than just, a one-car spin or missing your braking zone. You can hit the driver in front of you basically through no fault of your own. Andrew Hillman and Brad Dunn making a pass back in 7th. But yeah, if you're not super confident and sure in the wet and you go for a move like that and it doesn't stick, it can do nothing but produce bigger issues.
Yeah, Brad Dunn is losing quite a few places in one go here. Not sure why. This is the last of them. And he's going to try and gain one back again from Johan Knight. Not able to. Just in front, Andrew Hillman and Robert Gallas got through. But look at this. This is very busy indeed for 9th place on backwards. Dunn's right in behind, but it's just misjudged that a little bit in towards the loop. And so can't quite get the run that he was hoping for. Now look at the train behind. This is all the way down, by the way, to 16th place. And Patricio Torrigiani has got all these guys ahead of him. He had that problem early on in the race. He's got all his ducks in a row here, as it were, because he's got all these passes right in front of him to make. You can see that side by side a little bit further back. And, well, Torrigiani's just waiting for it to unfold just for the moment. But this is by far the busiest group on the circuit.
Absolutely. That was Marco Souza there going up the inside in that blue and greenish yellow 704. I can't decide if that's a green or a yellow, and I'm sure somebody in YouTube chat is going to yell at me about it, but it's a very brightly colored car, so it stands out. Look at him again looking up. Oh, I thought we were going to go side by side through Copse. Thankfully not, but the 241 of Brad Dunn runs extremely wide on the exit of Copse Corner. That's another position lost. Is Brad Dunn carrying damage, or is this just a case of lots of traffic, not enough confidence? What is happening there? Because Brad Dunn has dropped from 9th all the way back to 11th in one lap, and I'm pretty sure Brad Dunn started even higher than 9th place.
He's dropping very quickly. Yeah, this is all going one way for Brad Dunn at the moment. It's not a good way, I'm afraid, for him right now. Starting to snowball a little bit. So we go back a little bit to Dave Douglas, who's 13th at the moment. He has made a place on Vernon Messer who's dropped down the field in these last couple of modes. Robbie Gerwin is also through. There's Messer running very wide, and Torres-Gianni looking to take advantage as well here in the battle for 15th place, but that's not going to happen this time around. Well, maybe now it will. Oh no, he's been too brave, and he's hit the driver in front as well. Torres-Gianni came steaming in there to try and pass Vernon Messer. He's hit Robbie Gerwin as well in the red and white, and that is surely going to be investigated by the stewards.
Again, you have to be confident when you go to make those moves, and if you're not, it's not just your race that you risk. That's more so true in the wet than it ever is in the dry, even though we all know it's always true in the dry. The stewards are going to have questions with that one. That's going to be reviewed. We check back in here. This is the battle for third place shaping up. Kevin Hamann and Joshua Jeppesen, that is just 0.2 of a second, 0.3 of a second back. They are battling through, and look at the different lines. This is something, Ewan, that I like about Silverstone, is you're not necessarily locked in to running the same racing line, especially through Luffield, through Woodcote. You can run slightly different racing lines and still get the same lap results. It's really about what you're comfortable with, how you feel. Look at this replay here.
He's just misjudged it, hasn't he? You can see him try to make moves, and you can see why he needs to, but this is exactly why he's not as high up in the championship as he should be, because unfortunately his races are just fraught with mistakes sometimes. Meanwhile, Joshua Jeppesen has got off the road as well here. I think even maybe through Copse Corner. But the championship leader has got off the road, and after a bad week at Canadian, this is the onboard. He was going to run deep into the corner, wasn't he, Torres-Gianni? And he was going to make the corner, but Robbie Gerwin was always there. That is going to be looked at not favourably, I wouldn't say, for Torres-Gianni. Jack Stevenson's out the race now, by the way, which is unfortunate for number 116, so down to 20 in the race. But as I say, more importantly perhaps, Joshua Jeppesen has lost a lot of time on this lap now. He's down to 10th. He's the series leader, and because he effectively DNF'd 2 weeks ago, and this is the moment in towards Copse Corner, and he's going to grab the wall here pretty hard as well. That is a difficult moment for Jeppesen to recover from on a day where he really does need to have a good finish.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking for Jeppesen there. I just don't know how that happened. Was that a case of locking up under braking and just losing the car? Because that was inside to outside. I really don't know how that occurred, honestly. It's a weird place, too, to have that.
I think he broke on the curb, or the white line, and it sort of spun him to the inside. He hit the wall, and then obviously went through the gravel to the outside. Here's Patricio Torres-Gianni, by the way. Haven't had word through from the stewards whether that is a drive-through penalty that they have indicated to him, but I'm going to connect some dots and say that is the case. Look who it's put him right behind again. Robbie Gerwin's immediately straight back ahead of him here in this battle for 16th place with Jim Garamani.
Yeah, and as we watch this battle will go back through. We're going to see these battles kind of go off and on through the night as it stands. You can see this mid-pack, really, 6th place back, are very closely contested. They're going to continue to battle through the entirety of this event. 47 minutes left to go here. They're going to continue to push each other and test the limits here as they go. Again, the biggest difference in this series is the person behind the seat, behind the wheel. Maybe not behind the seat, but in the seat behind the wheel. You know what I mean? That is really where the difference in this series comes. But all of these drivers, are very skilled. They're very challenged in this situation. The challenge class is challenged here. This is a challenging track weather combo to have with this car. This is not, I would say, something that, you and me could jump on racing surfaces. We hop on board. There's a slide from Andrew Hillman. As I'm saying, this is challenging.
Yeah, that's Gallo. So I think he was hit by Johan Nye, actually. It seemed that he was hit there. To me, it didn't look like a normal spin. In the background, Marcus Souza just got past Nye, and Souza's going to be having a look at Gallo here. Just look at the way he's placing his car. And there you go. There's the onboard from Souza. He can't quite get through. Further back, Dunn and Jeppesen go side by side. Here's Jeppesen's view on the inside line, and he is coming in. Yeah, I thought he had damage, and he's been suffering. He's now going to end that by coming into pit lane, as long as this isn't a penalty, which I can't tell you for sure, but I think he is just coming in to repair his car at the moment. They do get one fast repair per race, and as long as he's within the fuel window to make it, then he will come in and use that fast repair right now. Aubrey Ayer, by the way, has also been in for a drive-through penalty early on, and Ayer is now a long way down the back of the field. Does Jefferson come to a stop, or does he have to do a drive-through penalty? No, he does come to a stop. So it's a very early stop for the championship leader. This is turning into a very big day for the championship.
Yeah, this is going to have major championship implications here as we check in with our championship leader there in the bottom, going through and out of the pits, sends you straight in to Farm Curve down towards Village here. Fast repair, it does look like, because again, that was a hard hit to the rear through Cops Corner. So it does look like that fast repair was taken, hopefully in the fuel window, as you said, Ewan. These cars do run 70% fuel, so they should be just in the window, I would say here. Under 45 minutes to go. It might be close. There might be some fuel saving, but if you play the game right there for Joshua Jepson, 48 seconds back, could pull off an upset here tonight. It's really going to be close.
He could get away with it because it is raining here, and as you say, they're limited to 70% fuel. We'll have started with full fuel. You can put another 25% in there. Yeah, is that going to give him enough to make it all the way home? It's going to be quite close, but I think the rain might mean that he will. Brad Dunn, meanwhile, is trying to get around the outside of one part of Maggots and Beckett's to get the inside of the other. Here are Johan Nye, who is battling for 9th place. You can see it all at the bottom of your screen, that Johan Nye in the orange and grey livery there, just ahead of Brad Dunn in the more traditional red and black. So official iRacing livery, I think. Left-hand side, he's going to go. Dunn, you can't quite see him on the screen, but he is down the inside. He's only looking, though, and he can't get through into 9th position for the moment. So Johan Nye is able to hang on in one of these big midfield groups that have been going on since the very beginning of this race.
Yeah, this midfield is just chocked full of action here as they continue through. We've seen really all the big drama, all the big moments, all the big passes. We're seeing them just continue to push each other through time and time again, and they're continuing to kind of test the limits of what these cars have and what these Porsche cars can hold on to in terms of corner grip, in terms of straightaway speed, in terms of how much curb they can take. They're really, really not afraid to risk it here, and nobody's really had anything catastrophic come up at the moment, I would say, other than Torgiani misjudging that one braking point, which, you know, is going to happen here and there. Unfortunately, that is just kind of the nature of this racing, as we talked about, Ewan, especially on a wet Silverstone circuit. You kind of, you have a rhythm for how Silverstone flows, and when you throw rain into it, which is, again, one of the newest things here in iRacing, it can kind of mix things up. Hop on board here with Dave Douglas. Look at the spray coming off. You can hardly see the Porsche in front, and Dave Douglas, look at the correction having to go in there to get that car to really just do what he wants, to get through the corners here, through Luffield, heading down towards Woodcote now, and then Cops Corner yet again, trying to stay out of the spray, take a slightly different line, but still find all the grip to get that Porsche car around this track.
We'll enjoy the onboard with him here at the moment. He's looking good. 11th place at the moment.
It looks happy.
It's a better result, really, than 11th place, to be honest, if he's going to be a championship contender. You know, he won his first ever race in the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series 4 weeks ago now at Portimao. And so I don't think he'll see himself as a championship contender quite, but I'm putting him in that mix for the moment. As much as he won't enjoy that, I don't think, but I'm putting him in the mix for the moment. We'll continue to enjoy that battle for 9th place. Well, we remind you, of course, that we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. That will continue out on the circuit at Silverstone. And this one for 9th is one of the closest. Johan Nye at the front of it, ahead of Brad Dunn, then Dave Douglas and Jeffrey Block, who is in 12th place just at the back of this group at the moment as well. John Kaplan is a bit too far back, and you can see him in the background as well, but this is where the action is for the moment. And Jeffrey Block's got the best view of it with just less than 41 minutes to go.
I was just checking in on our race leader up in front, Britt Danley, as it goes through. And last lap, 2:16.2. Last lap I have for George Poulos is a 2:20.3. So, I mean, I don't know what it is that Britt Danley has up front there for the 11, 12 second and counting lead, but there's some big wide moments. Misery loves company, a sympathy off track there. Wow. Brad Dunn, Jeffrey Block, Dave Douglas. This is a battle shaping up.
And Block wants to take both of them here as they followed each other off the circuit. Jeffrey Block's going to take them both. There's no grip out on the AstroTurf and the grass out there for those two, and so they've lost their place, both of them. They were having a big battle towards turn 3. Dave Douglas almost accidentally fired right down the inside of Brad Dunn in towards turn 3 that time round, and it's compromised them both. They both ended up off the circuit. Jeffrey Block took advantage. Johan Nye is absolutely gone, and who can blame him? He doesn't want to be involved in this. Dave Douglas there with a big snap going towards Copse Corner. This is quite a battle. This is how it all happened. That's Dunn having gotten back through on Douglas. Then he has a narrow line before Aintree. He goes off. Douglas follows him. Oh, look at them back on the circuit again, right in front of Block, who takes them both.
Yeah, and down in the bottom right there, that is going to be the 2:41 of Brad Dunn, who just had an off track there through Maggots and Beckett's and has an off track there. And that is going to compromise Chapel Curve, the Hanger Straight. Brad Dunn might be under some immense pressure here from Dave Douglas again by the time we hit the end of the straight. He's offline. He's slow. I mean, you can't have a moment there and hope to get away with it.
I would have thought a slowdown as well, but it didn't seem to affect him. This is George Poulos, meanwhile, who was second by some distance earlier, but now he's under pressure, and this is why. A mistake through the chicane. You can see him here just getting out ahead of Haman as Dunn and Douglas break way too late for the final chicane, and they get away with it, but that was Poulos making a bit of a mistake there, and Britt Danley now all of a sudden has an even bigger lead. This will be a big win for Danley if he can get it. Started the day 140 points behind Joshua Jepson. Might be able to get a lot of those back at the moment. Second place in the championship. Alan Hales has had a pretty quiet day so far, but he's inside the top 5. Oh, meanwhile, Robert Gallus hits Andrew Hillman in towards turn 4, and Hillman goes for a spin.
And good heads-up driving there from Marco Sousa. And I almost spoke too soon. Sousa comes around, is going to get that pass done and get his way through, hopefully. It looks like side-by-side we're going to go. The 704 and the 9. Hillman will have the outside. Sousa to the inside. Sousa good on the brakes, and Marco Sousa will get the pass done there. I was going to say the biggest thing I'm really learning about all of these challenge drivers is that the racecraft, the knowledge they have in terms of battling, especially through this midfield. I mean, this is the best time to learn it. Silverstone wet will challenge you in ways you never thought of, and racecraft is one of them. Getting very creative about your passes, being very patient with your passes, being very heads up in the driving you're doing and what's around you, and remembering that you don't just have to blindly follow the car ahead. They're not always going to be perfect there, and sometimes you need to still run your own race, even in a very, very close pack. Get this replay here. This is Andrew Hillman to the outside, and that was just 2-1 just doesn't go.
It's going to be a difficult one for Race Control to go and have a look at. I'm sure Hillman will see Gallus as the guilty party in that one, but we'll see what Race Control thinks. Brad Dunn, by the way, has been exchanging places with John Kaplan this time. It's a real fight back there in the sort of lower end of the midfield. Fantastic racing so far in the first 25 minutes of this one. It is about to be split apart, unfortunately, by pit stops that are going to take place over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, but oh dear, but that's not going to stop the action. Sousa went quite deep on the brakes. Hillman outdid him. He went even later on the brakes. He goes off for a trip through the gravel and the grass, and now he's going to be under pressure from Johan Nye for 8th place, and it will still be serving his slowdown penalty as well. Surely Nye is going to get through, and might well do, as Brad Dunn in the background comes into pit lane. Nye will go around the outside into turn 1, and well, no, actually not get the pass done quite so easily. Still side by side. Now they're costing each other quite a lot of time. Jeffrey Block is going to catch up to the both of them in this continuing battle for 8th place. Nye goes round the outside of the first part of turn 3, with the inside at 4, and he does finally get 8th place, but that's another place lost for Hillman after another mistake into the final chicane.
Yeah, Hillman just entirely deep on the brakes. I think he was braking for another zip code, honestly, but now is through. Still going to be under some pressure here as we see Jeffrey Block just right on his rear bumper as they head down the Wellington Straight, down into Brooklands here, looking through. That car just doesn't seem comfortable right now. He doesn't seem comfortable with the car. I don't know what it is, but something there for Andrew Hillman is just not working out here tonight at Silverstone as they run through. Jeffrey Block is right on the heels, and then right behind Jeffrey Block is Dave Douglas, who was looking relaxed earlier when I said he was fighting the car. He looked a lot more relaxed than the steering wheel led on to me, and well, I have a feeling that right now maybe the steering wheel is a little bit less relaxed here, and Dave Douglas can probably smell a very quick 9th or 8th place if he can get through the traffic, which it's very hard to do sometimes, especially here at Silverstone. One thing to catch, another to pass, and Ewan, I think, passing in the wet, in the rain, and keeping everything cool, calm, and collected is Hillman has another moment there heading through Beckett's down into Chapel. He's having another one.
This must have been a while ago. This is a big spin to the inside, and a big hit. Well, that's a big hit there for Rob Gerwin, who was actually, that probably is quite recent, actually. He drops back. Lisa Eskridge has got off out of Cop's corner into the wall as well. She's just come in, so I suspect that might have been a reaction to this incident right here. Seeing on replay, this is Patrizio Torrigiani, who's still having a bit of a rotten day. He goes for a spin in much a similar way to Gerwin, and he hits the wall pretty hard down there as well. So he's not been in pit lane yet, but will be coming in pretty shortly to do some repairs, much like we've seen already for Eskridge, who has just made her way back out onto the circuit again after the fast repair. We are definitely in the window now, though, of repairs. There's Robert Gallis, who served his drive-through penalty for hitting Andrew Hillman. He's now down to, goodness me, where is he? 11th place.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time to bring things back forward here. Johan Nye in P7 still continuing to run through with Hillman for company, with Jeffrey Block for company, with Dave Douglas in 10th place for company. This battle, again, I think this is going to be the battle to watch through the race. If you really are curious to see who ends up where in these four, this is going to be a very close battle all the way through this race. There's battles everywhere, but these four just have not let each other go since the beginning here. I will say, out of all of those wrecks we saw there, I think Lisa is really the one who got away the most with it. It seemed like just a light tap there to the rear corner. I don't think it did too substantial damage. It would have done a little bit of damage there to the rear end, but I don't think it was suspension damage or anything substantial that she couldn't continue. For Torrigiani and Robbie Gerwin, those two moments there of, you know, snapping off of corner exit straight into the wall, those are unfortunate. And, you know, for me, those are those moments, even that 1 to 2% dialed back can make the difference. I think what's happening with some of these drivers a little bit further back that have a lot of pace, I think they're hitting that point where they feel like they should be further up the field. They're pushing a little bit more, trying to get more out of the car than it wants to give, and it's just not working for them. Sometimes you have to dial 2% back to go 2% forward.
But as you've seen there, the two of them have carried on. They've decided, even though their hits were bigger than Eskridge's actually, they've decided to carry on for another couple of laps just yet, even though they're well within the fuel window as well, and pitting would probably put them in a bit of clean air, but never mind. They've decided to stay out. This is the movers and shakers so far. 7 game for Marcos Souza, the best of the movers forward, but most of them in the top 10 have at least been going somewhere, and forwards for the most part, with plenty of drivers like Torrigiani and Jefferson dropping down 13 places each further down in the field. So that is a shame for them, but it's good to see the others moving up. Marcos Souza actually pretty secure in 6th place after qualifying down in 13th. This is the most interesting battle on the circuit for sure. There is Souza though, free from it all, although he misjudged that a little bit towards turn number 4. He's doing rather well at the moment in 6th position. There's his triple screen display and his picture of concentration as well that he's got writ large on his face. Souza only started this season last round at Mosport with a top 5 finish that afternoon, and he'll be hoping to repeat that here today if possible. But it's 6th place for the moment after a good move through the field. As we go back now to these guys in the battle for 7th place again. Johan Nye holding on to this place in a bit more of a comfortable position from what we've seen in the last few laps. Things have calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, I think we've hit that sort of mid-race. I don't want to call it a lull, but we've hit that mid-race breather is what I'll call it for this 60-minute race. It's that point where I think all the drivers, realize, hey, we've got to get to the end of this to even be classified, be in a position. So they're going to, find that 1 or 2% they can reduce, sort of settle in, file, and just run through. I don't think the track's gotten more damp. I don't think things, have changed significantly with conditions. I think this is just drivers hitting that middle point. As look at this. This is Ed Trippett in 4th place, running in VR, which is something that can be controversial. It's something I prefer personally. I like racing in VR when I have the patience to put on my VR headset and it gets warm in my room, but running in VR here for Ed Trippett and looking very comfortable doing it here. Even has, it looks like, some good racing shoes on. Whether you race barefoot, socks, or shoes, that is your decision. But hey, good pair of shoes sometimes helps.
And never barefoot, by the way. Get far too cold. I've got metal pedals, so that's never going to work, or at least the front of the bar. That's going to get you very cold. Vernon Messer, meanwhile, comes into pit lane, so that's one of the drivers from this big group out of the running now. Here's Dave Douglas, still pretty calm. I totally get what you were saying earlier on about him getting a bit more worked up as the battles were ramping up as well, but I actually get the feeling that he remains quite calm throughout, actually. And we're about to see an example here. Just on the back of Hillman, he maybe smashed that curb a little bit too much on the inside of turn number 3. Now he might have a better chance on the exit of 4. It's a nicer exit here. He's got to stay close for entry and not deviate on the line, really. This is how he ended up off the circuit with Brad Dunn. But he's made a much better line through entry there. And he's now alongside Andrew Hillman in towards Brooklands. This is a good opportunity here for Douglas. Well, he broke a bit early there. Now he's let off the brakes. He's gone straight to the side of Hillman. Straight into the side of him. He's gone for a spin and he's dropped outside the top 10.
And you can see he's not happy with that, how that happened there. He did something very smart, and he stamped on the brakes a little bit earlier, kind of trying to throw off Hillman there in the braking down into Brooklands. He was very smart in that regard, but it seems like he hit the brakes, let off, and then came back into them, but didn't have that intensity on the brakes to still get the car slowed down, drifted out a little bit wide, and unfortunately, he is the victim in that kind of a self-penalizing incident, if no better way to phrase it. He loses a little bit of positions there, a little bit of time, drops out of that battle, but Dave Douglas has pace. I think Dave will catch up pretty quick and get back into the mix of this battle.
Yeah, I think he will. That's the second time Andrew Hillman's been hit, by the way, in the last few minutes. Robert Callis came in and hit him early on. This is the other view. Just misses the apex there slightly, doesn't he? And it is, as you say, a self-punishing spin. Oh, dear. Very nearly rejoined straight into Robert Callis there. Thankfully, he did not do that, but that was pretty close to disaster there. And then Joshua Jefferson appeared just in the background. And he's up to 12th place now, by the way. He's actually catching everybody. Watch out for him when these pit stops have all been made. While we're getting there, of course, with 27 minutes to go, we're reminding once again how thrilled we are to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor, as the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13. They provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. So yes, just less than 27 minutes to go, and most of these drivers still yet to come in. 5 of them have made their pit stops, not mandatory, but probably realistically mandatory, as you have to get some more fuel on board to finish the race. So there's your pit stops on the left-hand side. Nobody making them just yet. Everyone wanting to run the tanks a little bit drier before they come in, and you can absolutely understand that, especially when you're out in the lead. We haven't spoken too much about Stephen Danley out front, but it's a big lead. It's a lead that's actually diminished in the last few moments because the last lap was a 2:19.2, which is one of the slowest in the field. In fact, it's the slowest in the top 10. However, it's a comfortable lead for Danley at the moment, and has been ever since the beginning of this race.
Yeah, it really has. One of the things that has kind of caught me off guard with that lead is just how consistent it's been. As you mentioned there, Stephen Danley, not really having any sort of a challenge pretty much since the race start. I do think there will be a battle to the lead at the end, though. If you look at Joshua Jeppesen, our earliest pit stop that was made was Joshua. I do think that is going to be the big challenge there. What has Torgiani done here? That's a move to the inside, deep on the brakes, very deep. So on the brakes, and then looks like just straight off the track, actually. Exit stage left.
He did go rather straight off the circuit. Oh, he's going to get his place back again anyway, though. Well, that's a rather weird move, but anyway, he's made it work. He has stopped, by the way. You'll notice he's got his front bumper back, and he's now down in 17th place after taking his fast repair there and getting past Jim Garamani, who is in 18th place now. Robbie Gerwin still hasn't come in, by the way, since his crash through the very same corner. So anyway, he's carrying on, as are these two. George Poulos versus Kevin Hamann. It's going the right way as far as Hamann is concerned, although Poulos is keeping him at arm's length pretty well for the moment with just less than 25 minutes to go. Poulos at the start of the day was 11th in the standings, with Kevin Hamann in 15th place in the standings. And so they're not particularly features for the front of the championship at the moment anyway, as this battle for 7th continues on as well, albeit at a lower temperature than what we were seeing earlier on.
Absolutely. I feel like once we come out of this round, I think you can pretty much take the current point standings, throw them in a glass bottle, shake it up, and then just kind of chuck it off to the side. The points are going to be so much mixed up at the end of this round. It's going to be interesting to really see where those points land in here in the challenge. I think the other thing that we kind of have to watch too is the clean driver standings. That's one that I was excited when I saw it and looked. I have a feeling that the clean driver standings are going to also very much take a turn on their head, because there's been a lot of big moments here in this race. Again, rain involved. You're always going to have more moments than others, but there have been some drivers that have kept things pretty clean. We've seen some drivers with some very scary moments here and there, but overall, I am very impressed across all 4 of the races here and PCA, how all of the drivers have really handled a wet Silverstone. You know, as we said at the top of the broadcast, Ewan, probably something that most people haven't practiced, even though Silverstone rain hand in hand, I'd think about it. But all of the drivers in all of the series have done a very good job of being prepared for it, being comfortable, and getting their cars to the end in as much of one piece as they can.
This is Kevin Hamann coming in with a little bit of fuel left on board, I would have thought, but no desire to change tyres like you would in the dry weather conditions, where you might take 1 or 2 just while the fuel's going in. You can forget about that. You want to keep the tyre temperature that you built up and worked hard for over the course of the last 35 minutes or so to go back out with again. And Hamann's not even going to lose that many places, to be honest, as he makes a stop. So Hamann comes out. I'm trying to work out where he is in relation to Jeppesen and what that means later. So Jeppesen at the moment is 55 seconds off the lead of Britt Danley. And Hamann is now at 36 seconds behind. I'll make that 18 seconds by my mathematics. So he will be at the moment, Jeppesen, I think about 5th. Or maybe 6th. I think he'd just be behind Alan Hales, but actually a decent recovery and a good idea for Jeppesen to make a pit stop early. He's been in a lot of clean air. He hasn't had to do a lot of the overtaking that the likes of Patricio Torgiani has been having to do. And he's made the best of a bad hand that he's been dealt with here this evening.
Yeah, he's done a very good job with it. Again, that clean air or clean water, or whatever you want to call it, I think making a big difference for him, not battling through traffic, not constantly being elbow to elbow with another Porsche, and being very good about getting that car through. The big thing I worry about for him, kind of looking at where he's at, is he's coming up to traffic. He's coming up to that very, very intense battle that we've watched lap after lap through the majority of this race. So I'm not sure how that's going to handle through for him. Ed Trippett and Alan Hales here about to have another big old scrap on their hands. Alan Hales about 9/10 of a second back, and we're going to see how Ed Trippett handles the pressure from behind. This is the battle for P3.
Well, it turns out he might not have to do it for very long. Oh no, Hales takes a very strange line in towards the final chicane, which means I always think he's coming into the pit lane. He's not, but it looks like he is. Britt Danley, meanwhile, is coming into pit lane, and not sure quite why at this moment, but anyway, he will just be making the normal pit stop before heading back out there again. A little bit on the conservative side for fuel, 16 seconds that time round, with 1.7 seconds gained by Hamann, who I'd imagine was trying to undercut him a little bit, and that's not great news for Danley. The fact that Trippett and Hales, who are having their own battle, come out right in front of him. So he's suddenly going to lose a bit of time, but he did have quite a big lead before making that stop anyway.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the pace, really trying to get just a gauge of if Kevin Hamann is going to be in a good position to try to challenge Britt Danley as Britt Danley comes out. But can he navigate this traffic quickly here? Let's take a look. Let's see what happens. Needs to look to the outside. Is going to peek the inside here. Deep on the brakes. Is the pass complete? No, not at the moment. So Danley's still trying to find that pass, not able to find it again through Luffield, going into Woodcote, and maybe going to look to the inside, running a little bit wide is the 74 of Alan Hales. But again, you can take those different lines through Luffield, Woodcote, and still get the same result of a fast run. It doesn't really mean anything as we watch picture in picture here. Now into Cops Corner, going for a Cops Corner pass. Yes, we are.
Well, that was a bit more of an accident, I think, rather than by design, but he has got alongside in for the fastest corner on the circuit, but no, it's not quite going to work out, and Alan Hales hangs on again here. It's the most action Alan Hales has seen all day, really. He's had quite a quiet day as he's been plodding along, trying to gain some points in the championship, and at the moment it looks like he is going to be able to do that, but he's at the moment under a lot of pressure here from Danley, who now has a better run out of the Manx and Beckett's and Chapel section in towards the slipstream here in time for the Hanger Straight. Under the bridge they go. Danley was really fast on the entry to the last high-speed corner there at Cops Corner. Surely he's going to do it again. There you go. Stripes, almost scrapes alongside Hales, who goes for a big slide. Big slide for Danley. He holds it together, and he does have the place, but this is exactly what I was concerned about when he ended up in traffic as Hales now comes in. This is exactly what I was concerned about. How much time is he going to lose in these battles that he doesn't need to be involved in? Well, it turns out not as bad as it could have been, but he certainly did lose time.
I think Britt Danley's time loss problem is still not over, though, because here's the thing. Ed Trippett just up the road by about 2 seconds. That could be another roadblock here. We'll see how long Ed Trippett stays out. Ed Trippett still does need to pit, so could possibly be a follow him for a lap and go and, you know, kind of make it through okay, but did lose a bit of time there to the number 14 of Kevin Hamann in the run, but not enough, I think, to really cause a problem, honestly. And look at this replay. Look at the bravery there to just to nail that through. That is confidence. And then hold that slide coming through as well. I mean, that was car control through Stowe if I've ever seen it.
It was good car control. And you know, a good overtake to make, but just wonder whether he could have worked a strategy that would have not seen him losing this time in traffic at the moment. Last time round, for example, George Poulos did an 18.1, and Danley was on an outlap, of course, but will have been slower than that, that's for sure, in a normal lap. So that's difficult to justify, really, I would say. This is Alan Hales, where he's come out, just in behind Johan and 9, just ahead of Jeffrey Block, who is the next driver behind him, although neither of those two have stopped, and so he's very much in a world of his own at the moment, is Alan Hales, but he's on his way to gaining some points in the championship. He's just 4 seconds ahead of Joshua Jepson, who is, as I predicted, just in behind Hales. So maybe there will be a battle between the top two in the championship before the finish.
Definitely think there's going to be a very good battle to watch there as it comes through. We see the 389 here. Jeffrey Block just right in the mix of this here. We'll see what happens for Jeffrey as we follow through Beckett's down towards Chapel yet again, and we continue this run through. I mean, things are looking like they are heating up here for the final 15 minutes or so of this race. We're hitting that point where I think drivers are recognizing we're near the end of the race. They've got to gather it up and do as much as they can now and really push things forward. So we're going to start seeing drivers get a little bit more aggressive. We might start to see a couple more mistakes slip in because we're at the end of a 60-minute race. So, you know, that sort of physical endurance, that physical comfort level is going to start to become I don't want to call it a problem, but is going to start to become something to consider as well. You know, 60-minute races, while yes, you should be able to run a 60-minute stint, a 60-minute all-out run here, it's still tiring. I mean, even for me, it's still one of those that at the end of it, I feel it.
Yeah, it's high intensity stuff, that's for sure. Dear me, Danley there going a bit wide through entry, which always makes you a bit nervous. That's Aubrey Ayer, by the way, just up in front, who's a lap down in the forecourt. Probably should have gone down the inside there, to be honest. I was always going to give the space to the inside line for him to do that, but Danley decided not to. And now he's stuck up on the outside for Luffield, so it's going to get even more difficult. Johan Nye, meanwhile, leaves pit lane with Jeffrey Block just in behind. And these are the final drivers now, apart from George Poulos, to make their way out. So Sousa's back out onto the circuit. He's 7th place, just ahead of Andrew Hillman, who just gets ahead of Johan Nye and Jeffrey Block, who make their way out at the bottom of your screen as well. And then Robert Gallis a couple of seconds further back in 11th. That means we're almost sorted here for pit stops, apart from George Poulos, as I say, who is still out front with 15 minutes to go.
I think George is just enjoying being in the lead for a little bit, honestly. I don't think this is anything too crazy going from George. I think George just likes being in the lead here and maybe just enjoying a little bit of clean air, a little bit of lap time here. Is running really consistent laps, honestly. 2:16.5, 2:16.0 is really pulling out some good time to the rest of the field. Other than Ed Trippett, who ran a 2:15.6 last lap, I think George here, as he comes into the pits now, was trying to really pull off the overcut, which is not something you traditionally see drivers do. Usually it's the undercut drivers try to do, but the overcut is strong as long as you can nail that pit entry.
Well, never mind the pit entry. When you're on the limiter, and the turn's actually quite difficult. Whether he found himself in... Anyway, he's got away with that, and now he will pull into his box. Stanley's going to be in the lead, but not by as big of a margin as what he was before the pit stops, as George Poulos and others have done well in this cycle here. Got for a bit of an overcut, Poulos, and it seems to have worked here, although Danley is going to be out front by still quite some margin. 12.1 seconds is the stop for Poulos, who now makes his way out. Kevin Haman is not that far behind. Poulos needs to get a move on here, and he will do. Hopefully that pit exit was okay. It looked pretty close to whether he crossed the white line or not, actually, but he's seemingly okay. And so second place still for Poulos, a lot closer to Danley, but still 7 seconds behind.
Yeah, we've got a challenge here for second place coming up too, with Kevin Haman right there in the mix. That's the car behind, just on the run there. And then, of course, you know, we'll watch how that battle develops. 6.8 seconds in closing, 6.7 seconds, 6.5 seconds before I can finish my sentence. So, Britt Danley, I don't know that the race win is as secure. Danley has lost a lot of pace here, even through the end of this race with 12 minutes to go. I don't know that it's secure, but I also at the same time don't know if George is going to be able to pull a second a lap faster or more for the remainder of this race, especially if Kevin starts to challenge.
Absolutely. And you can be sure that he will do in these final few moments. For one final time here tonight, let's remind you once again, of course, of our partner Princess Cruises, who have joined us as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. So, just less than 12 minutes to go here at Silverstone. The rain continues to fall here at this great circuit, and the racing continues as well. The gap between Poulos and Haman is minimal. Trippett versus Hales is minimal as well. That's the battle for fourth place. And further down, that midfield group has just split apart for a while, although you get the feeling it may well close up again a little bit later on. But now Poulos is just hanging on and doing a good job of hanging on, actually, in this second position. Spears wouldn't be surprised to learn, would be his best result of the season so far, tied with Mosport 2 weeks ago. He's got lap traffic to deal with now as well.
That he does. We watch this replay here. Dave Douglas sliding that Porsche around. Good catch there to keep that Porsche in one piece. Ed Trippett, Alan Hales, Joshua Jeppesen into the pits again. No.
Oh.
So Joshua not able to make it on fuel.
Wow.
That's a heartbreak.
That's huge. And Alan Hales might well take the championship lead as a result of this at the end of tonight. We'll let you know about that, of course, as Jeppesen now pulls into his box with 11 minutes still to go. I'm not sure about his strategy here. He could have persevered with that damage for a little bit longer and got himself into a pit window that would have made him safe. But 8 seconds in the box, that's a lot of fuel he needs to take on there. And he's come back out again behind Sousa and behind Hillman as well. It's down to 8th place for Jeppesen. His drop week, by the way, worse than this. So he's going to have to take it. He does get out ahead of Hillman, though, actually. I'll take it back. He just gets back into 7th place. Only just, though, over Andrew Hillman, although no, he's spun out of turn 4, I think, out of turn 3, excuse me. He's disappeared at the moment as Josh Jeppesen. He's dropped outside the top 10. Don't know what's happened to him exactly for the moment. He seems to have disappeared entirely. He doesn't seem to be around at all anymore. Whether he's disconnected or not, I've got no idea.
He's disconnected, it appears, based on what I'm seeing on my timing side. Yeah. So that is a connection failure, a connection out for Joshua Jeppesen. That is, I mean, has to take the additional pit stop, a long pit stop there for fuel, and then drops connection right on the pit. Oh, that is heartbreak. That turns this championship on its head here in this Series 13. I mean, I don't even know what you say to that. That is just beyond heartbreaking. And depending on who you are, you're either very happy about it or you're very upset about it. We'll see, I guess, how that affects things moving forward. But for Joshua Jeppesen, that is a P20 on the books for today.
Yeah, so he'd be over 100 points behind Alan Hales, who would be the new championship leader. Britt Danley would move up to 2nd place if he carries on to win from here, which is looking even more likely by the minute, but don't want to crown him just yet before he's actually across the line. He started the day 100 points behind Hales, but he would gain 70 as things stand because Hales' worst result was actually 4th place. So that's what he'd score. It doesn't really matter where he finishes in this race at the moment. He would be only 30 points ahead. As there you go, that's exactly why we're not awarding the win to anyone yet. George Poulos has just got off the road from 2nd place, and Kevin Hamann suddenly is in that position. There, meanwhile, is Hales getting onto Trippett. There you can see that, but Poulos has dropped behind Hamann in a mistake himself through the slow speed first sector.
Yeah, first sector is so easy to make a mistake at the end of the race because you've put all of your concentration, all of your time in, and really your main focus on every lap is nailing Beckett's and Chapel, or at least it is for me personally. So then sometimes that first sector just catches you off guard as you go, and it's not ideal, but it does happen. And every once in a while, that first sector can jump out and bite. It's deceptively tricky. I will say that. George Poulos there is that slow speed slide through Village, and thankfully didn't lose too much time, but did drop down to 3rd place, was able to get right back behind that number 14 of Hamann, and now is gonna have 7.5 minutes to try to recoup a 2nd place here today.
Can he manage it? Well, that mistake from Hamann might well help. Just went a bit too deep in towards Magnus and Beckett's there, and so drops back. There's Targiani up to 13th. Ahead of John Kaplan in the field now. It's a decent recovery, but again, it's the story of Targiani's season. A day that he could have had a better result, disrupted by a mistake earlier in the day. He might well retain his place inside the top 10 in the championship, but if he does, it's not going to be by very much, and it's going to be another day of disappointment nevertheless. Poulos did look like he was getting a lot closer to Hamann before Stowe corner there, but now Hamann has gained a little bit more time. They go over the line. Still 4 laps here for Poulos to try and find his way through.
Yeah, and I think he should be able to put some pressure on. I'm not going to say he can get the pass done, but I will say that he does have pace. He was almost a second faster compared to Kevin Hamon's last lap on the prior lap, not counting the lap with the spin. So he's got the pace there, does George. It's just a matter of, it's one thing to catch, it's another to pass. He's got the catching part under control. I think he's just got to really keep that Porsche under him for the final 6.5 minutes, get that pass done in the most opportune moment. But also, George has that's a lap down car behind for company. So you just got to kind of keep that in mind. The 75 there. Oh, Blossoms, Bubbles, Buttercup. And that is not what you want to see.
That's Eskridge just going for a half spin right in front of Ed Trippett there. And now he's under pressure here from Alan Hales. Big pressure for 4th place. Not really too much fault of Ed Trippett there. Couldn't do a lot about that as he loses time, but now he's got to do the defensive work here for the final 4 laps. Jeffrey Block also just came into pit lane, by the way, from the top 10 and drops out of it. So I'm not sure whether that's a drive-through penalty as well for an incident limit, maybe, is it? Oh, no, he's actually coming to a stop. So clearly for something else there at this stage in the race. Find out what that is. But this battle for 4th is going to continue. Hales would do even more damage to his championship rivals here if he could make this pass and have an extra 20 points.
Looks like Jeffrey Block has had some sort of a moment. Looks like fast repair was taken there, just a second in the box. So very quick in, out. Hopefully nothing too crazy, but back on track there in 14th place. As we watch this battle continue between Trippett and Hales, this is going to be a big battle here as they go through Maggots and Beckett's. Here, head towards Chapel. Keep it together, mind the spray. Keep it together, mind the curb to the inside. And now Alan Hale's just going to dump the throttle here, give everything in this Porsche. Use the little bit of slipstream that we get down the hanger straight and see if you can't lunge this Porsche up the inside. Is going to brake to the inside, late on the brakes. Can you hold it? Do you have the grip? And no, Ed Trippett very well defending that.
A very tight line taken by Hales there, and it was never really going to work, but he's got the time to burn, if you like. They're never going to catch the battle for second. They're never going to be caught by Sousa either, unless they crash into each other. So they've just got to avoid that, and they'll be okay here to continue in the top 5 of the both of them. But Hales didn't quite have the conviction to go through it towards Stoke Corner there, and I do just wonder whether he is going to give this a half go, if you like, at trying to get to 4th place, but sit back and think, well, if I don't get it, it's not the end of the world. I'll still be the championship leader at the end of the day with a 4th top 5 in 4 races.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Hales here, I wouldn't push this more than you need to, because best case scenario, again, it's that P5, Ewan, but worst case scenario is you take yourself out in the final 3 minutes of the race. That's not what you want to do. So, I mean, if the door opens, no sense to not put a foot in, but if the door stays closed, no sense in trying to kick it down. So, 50-50, good if you do, good if you don't. I would just kind of ride this one out if I was Alan Hales, especially if Alan is aware of what happened with Jeppesen dropping connection, then I would not risk anything right now.
Absolutely. It's going to be difficult for him to know what happened to Jeppesen, because of course he just made his pit stop, and so he wasn't around Hales anymore. But even so, he may well know anyway. This is Vernon Messer's group, by the way. They're at the battle for 9th place in the field. It's got Robert Gallis and Brad Dunn right in behind. It's the midfield battles of old that are just reforming again before the very end of this race, which is good to see. Don't mind that. But they haven't got very long to battle this one out now. Just 2 laps to go at the line here. I think Stanley's getting to the line early enough here for another couple of laps. Can't tell you that for sure, actually. It's going to be quite close as to how many laps we still get in this race. He's got a very big lead as Stanley at the moment. And with 2.5 minutes to go, it is unclear, as I say, how many laps there's going to be left. I think it will be 2 at the line, as I say. Messer, though, still at the front of this group. He's got a lap driver with no front end just up in front of him here, and I believe that might be
that is
Aya, is it?
Yeah, that is Aya.
Yeah, it is Aubrey Aya. I'm not sure where he's picked that up from, but anyway, he's just trying to stay out of the way of these guys. Robert Gallis is the one really coming under pressure in the background.
Yeah, Robert Gallis there. having a lot of pressure applied from the car behind, which is going to be that 241 of Brad Dunn. Again, this 4-car battle right here for just the bottom of the top 10 and the top of the top teens really has been where we've seen the most pressure applied. And I've got to wonder which of these two drivers is going to be on the bottom of that top 10 as we go through and head towards Stowe. And now a little bit of a slide there coming through for Brad Dunn. Brad Dunn really trying to get the most out of this Porsche as we continue along. It's one thing to catch, it's another to pass, and you've got a minute 20. So either you lick the stamp and send it, or you just hold on to it. Marco Souza, we check in here, still has Andrew Hillman back behind, but again, I don't know if Andrew's going to look for anything, because I think at this point, you know, with a minute to go, if it's not a guaranteed pass, I don't know that I would go for anything here.
No, it's maybe a bit different for these guys outside the top 5 at the moment, and outside of championship contention. Makes you think, well, for the likes of Hillman, maybe he might well just go for it, but we'll see over the next 2 laps. Down at the bottom of your screen there is Britt Danley, currently leading, and with just over half a minute to go, he's going to squeeze out another lap of this race just at the very end here. 27 laps, that's what was predicted, to be fair, but if anyone else was leading this race, then the race would end. That's how close it is for Hillman at the moment. He's put on a decent speed here to give us an extra lap of this one. So he'll receive the white flag as Brad Dunn receives a mistake. It might have been self-induced, I'm not sure, but he's suddenly down to 12th place. There's another position there for Patricio Torrigiani, and Robert Gallez is up to the top 10 suddenly as well.
Yeah, and as we watch all of these final moments unfold here, time has ended. Final lap is on the board, and well, there is Brad Dunn, and you can see losing a lot of time there. That car looks pretty slow compared to the ones around, so losing a bit of time here in the final moments. Again, just that end stage that, you know, hey, we're at the end. That 1% to 2% difference is all it takes. All of these drivers are very fast, very, very skilled, and all of them have very good racecraft. But I think in the wet, just finding that balancing point, especially at the end of a race, is something that can be easier said than done. As we still watch Ed Trippett here, Alan Hales continue to battle. Again, I don't think Alan Hales is really going to go for this one. I think he's going to hold on. I think right here as we watch, we have Patricio Torrigiani again, possibly in the mix for a top 10.
Yeah, Torrigiani is going to be exciting to watch on this last lap as he sees a top 10 right in front of him here, and Gallez knows the threat as well. He was just looking in the mirrors on the way towards the final chicane there for sure, because he just brought the car over by half a car width or so to defend. But at the bottom of your screen, Britt Danley looks on his way to a famous win. 4 different winners in 4 rounds, and it's been a pretty dominant performance.
4 different winners in 4 rounds at 4 fairly different racetracks. I like the look of that, honestly, because of the fact that it's been 4 different tracks. Daytona, Portimao, Mosport are different styles of tracks. You know, then you add Silverstone, which is another one. Look at the dive from Torrigiani there. Wow, the stamp and send it, as I said, and that was that. And then the 809 is going to look for it back again through the loop. Not able to make it happen. Torrigiani pulling a top 10 out of the jaws.
I told you it was going to be exciting. Robert Gallez probably didn't approve, but the pass has been made. Meanwhile, further up front, Britt Danley hasn't had to make any passes today. It's been dominance right from the very beginning, and he's going to become our 4th different winner in 4 weeks, moving up into the top 4 in our championship as well. Britt Danley around the final corner, into championship contention and into victory lane here at Silverstone as well. He wins and overcomes the rain here in the challenge class of the Porsche Club of America 4 Series 13. Immediately goes back to the garage to celebrate with himself. He'll be very, very pleased after a dominant display here tonight at Silverstone. Other battles further on have mostly settled themselves out, although Torrigiani versus Gallez is still pretty close, I've got to tell you. A little bit further back, Torrigiani has pulled away in these last few moments. Looks like he's stolen away a top 10 after spinning on the opening lap again.
Yeah, for Torrigiani, it's a recovery drive. My question for Torrigiani is, You know, there's a lot of pace in that Porsche. There's a lot of racecraft behind the wheel. Just overcoming those little mistakes here and there that have happened through the season are really going to be what needs to be focused on, I think, for Torgiani through the final 3 rounds. Could be a big thing, too, if there's some good finishes from Road America, Hungary, and Imola, the final 3 rounds of the season. Torgiani is a force to be reckoned with. It's just those little mistakes here and there that have caught him out.
It is, yeah. And that's going to frustrate him just a little bit at the end of this race, I think. And at the end of the season probably as well, because it has been a bit of a recurring theme. Out of the final corner he comes and he crosses the line. As I say, maybe he'll be retaining a top 10 place in the championship, but he won't have any championship designs, particularly at the end of this season. He is struggling a little bit to string results together. The final drivers come over the line. Disappointing day for Dave Douglas, finishing 13th place. That's his worst result of the season so far. And the championship leaders now will be Alan Hales and Britt Danley, really, who will be up towards the front 1 and 2. It's Britt Danley who wins here at Silverstone, ahead of Kevin Hamann and George Poulos on the podium. We'll talk to them in a few moments' time. Ed Tribbett and Alan Hales round out the top 5, with Hales taking that championship lead. Marcus Souza finishing just over a minute down, with Andrew Hillman in 7th place. Johan Werner Messer and Patricio Torgiani rounding out the top 10. Torgiani got past Robert Gallows in that last lap there to finish 11th. Then it was John Kaplan, 12th, ahead of Dave Douglas, who has his worst result of the season so far. Then it's Brad Dunn, who retired on the last lap, actually, ahead of Jeffrey Block and Jim Garamani, rounding out the lead lap drivers. Rob Kerwin was 1 lap down, along with Joshua Jepson, who did get back on the circuit after his disconnect. Lisa Eskridge and Aubrey I were also 1 lap down. Jack Stevenson retired very early on. Let's have a chat then, shall we, to Britt Danley, who wins this race here tonight at Silverstone. Congratulations, Britt. I mean, a fantastic race from yourself. 13.8 seconds, the gap at the line. Were you expecting to be so comfortably and far out front?
Absolutely not.
I mean, how were you feeling going into this race in that case? Where were your expectations?
I hope to finish in the top 5, maybe get a podium, but I was very nervous driving in the wet. So I was a little bit nervous.
What's this to do for the rest of the season now? By my calculations, you're only 30 points off the championship lead. What do you think you can do in the last part of the season?
Well, I'm going to do my best and practice as much as I can, and let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens indeed. Congratulations on the win here tonight, Britt, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That is Britt Danley finishing 1st place here tonight at Silverstone in the challenge class, ahead of Kevin Hamann, who finishes in 2nd. Here we go. Just joining us now. Kevin, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on finishing 2nd here tonight. How pleased are you to have overcome a race-long battle with George Poulos and a battle with the conditions as well to finish on the podium?
Yeah, I think that was a great race. George put up a great fight, but in the end, he made a few small mistakes that opened up some doors, and I was able to get by him.
What do you think it was about tonight that felt so right with you? Because compared to the rest of the results this season for yourself, this is a tremendous success for you.
I put the car on pole at the last race at CMP, but I had some throttle calibration issues on the back straight. Everybody was just passing me. And that was very frustrating. So I ordered some new pedals, and it's been great ever since.
Well, hopefully it can continue for you. Congratulations on 2nd place here tonight at Silverstone, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thanks so much.
Thanks very much. That's Kevin Hamann there in 2nd place here tonight at Silverstone, just ahead of George Poulos, who held that position for a while but ends up 3rd. Congratulations on a podium place, though, George. Just tell us your thoughts on that race and whether you're maybe a little bit disappointed not to have had more at the end.
Absolutely. It was an overall enjoyable race. Had some good car wheel action early. Made a couple mistakes near the end, including a self spin, which allowed Kevin past. But he was with me the whole time.
How does it feel to have 2 podiums in a row now after 2 non-top 10s in a row to start off the season, which is more close to what you've been feeling like in terms of confidence? Have you been confident enough to challenge for podiums, or have these last 2 results been more of a surprise?
I would like to think that these are what I should be, and the first two were more of the outlier, but you know, you never know. But just got to keep practicing and try to get more consistent.
We will see. Hopefully that run can continue for you. Congratulations on third place here tonight, George, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, George Poulos, there, third place here tonight at Silverstone as well. Well, that's just about it from us here at RaceSpotTV tonight. That is it for racing at Silverstone as well on the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series for Season 13. It's time to move to Road America, and in 2 weeks' time, we'll be live from 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the 13th of March to go racing there in the Challenge class. But before then, we've got the Pro class coming up next Wednesday. 7 days' time, we'll have the Club class, then the Sport class the Wednesday after that, and then the Challenge class here, as I say, 2 weeks from now. It's a very different circuit, Brad, as you were talking about a little bit earlier on, and I'm looking forward to 4 races around there as well.
Yeah, Road America is going to be a track that just, I think, is going to see, again, another winner here in the Challenge class. I think it's going to be another different winner, someone who is more comfortable with that style of circuit than the other circuits we've been on. And we're just going to see, you know, those lessons week to week that these Challenge class drivers learn, who can implement those, who can move forward, and, you know, in the end, who can really take advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves for passes. And, you know, I'm excited to see what happens in 2 weeks.
I'm very excited as well, and seeing how long we can keep that run going on for as well, of new race winners every week. It's very exciting so far. Big thanks to everyone who's been tuned in over the course of this evening, watching the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series 13 here from Silverstone. Now, 4 races are complete here in the rain. This has been the Challenge class here tonight, where Stephen Danley has taken a big win, and our 4th different winner in 4 different races. Come back in 2 weeks' time to find out if we get a 5th different winner in 5 different races. And indeed, come back on Wednesday for the Pro class and the first of the Road America round in the Challenge, or in all the classes, I should say, for Series 13. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Brad Dalton, with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras here tonight in this Challenge class race. Thanks very much for watching here from a very rainy Silverstone. We'll be back at Road America next week for more Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series action. But for now, it's goodbye.